Joey, as we often do, I was hoping to get you to talk about what's in the bottle, but I understand it might have grown a little bit and be a little bit bigger of a topic than just the specifics of what's inside of one supplement.
Yeah.
What are we talking about?
So today, along with the holiday season, kind of motivated by and influenced by the season that we're dealing with here, Thanksgiving, Christmas, we're going to talk about stress and how it relates to mental health, but more specifically depression and anxiety, and kind of just the interplay, and again, just the timing of everything. I thought this would work well. So yeah, it meant to be started with a what's in the bottle on a couple of our supplements maybe, and kind of went into, well, these supplements all have supplements within them.
Yeah.
And be remiss not to touch on just even some psychological, mental health kind of things that, in a broad sense, that I kind of do myself.
Okay. Joey, as we often do, I was hoping to get you to talk about what's in the bottle, but I understand it might have grown a little bit and be a little bit bigger of a topic than just the specifics of what's inside of one supplement.
Yeah.
What are we talking about?
So today, along with the holiday season, kind of motivated by and influenced by the season that we're dealing with here, Thanksgiving, Christmas, we're going to talk about stress and how it relates to mental health, but more specifically depression and anxiety, and kind of just the interplay, and again, just the timing of everything. I thought this would work well. So yeah, it meant to be started with a what's in the bottle on a couple of our supplements maybe, and kind of went into, well, these supplements all have supplements within them.
Yeah.
And be remiss not to touch on just even some psychological, mental health kind of things that, in a broad sense, that I kind of do myself.
Okay.
Obviously, the holidays in particular, stressful time for a lot of different reasons, and I think
why,
namely, I don't know. And I think because I have little kids,
yeah,
and we have a business and trying to still get a podcast going during this time, etc. It's like work and life doesn't stop, so these things get added. And then you also add in that it's a reminder of loss I know for myself and for a lot of people, of those that we've lost during this time. So what is meant to be joyous, hopefully is for you and is for me and us, but can be also bring a lot of feelings of, even if it's not depression, but a lot of sadness.
Yeah.
And then the anxiety, everything from, am I making the holiday special enough for my kids? Did I do this event? To, is this gift right? Is this food going to be prepared the right way? Is there too much travel? All those things kind of layer in. And then I know for me being married, it's sometimes I'm handling them right, and my wife maybe is a little more stressed, or vice versa.
Yeah. And
the interplay of even how we kind of manage that. So I think first and foremost, listening to this podcast, it's more former pharmacist. I'm a pharmacist, nutritionist, not a psychologist or therapist. So I would have loved to sit here and give you like 3 techniques, this 15-minute program, this amazing deep breathing thing I found. Not that that's not eventually something we go into,
sure, but
it's not my wheelhouse.
Right.
And there are other accounts and professionals that are more suited to that.
Yep.
But just broadly speaking, from what I'm going to try to do here is 2 things. Number one, just broadly what works for me during the holidays. And this is not meant to be groundbreaking stuff, but for me, it's just a couple things that always help center me, not just during this time, but just broadly speaking, when I'm dealing with my own mental health issues. And number 2, back in my wheelhouse, is from a supplement perspective. What can we do? We know there's certain drugs and we know those kind of things, but what can you do from a supplement standpoint? All
right. So what works for you?
What works for me? Number 1, gratitude. So fundamental, and yes, I've lost family members, but I'm so blessed to have who I have in my life. Yes, I have little kids and there's so much joy there, but and the stress doesn't abate that comes with the holidays. They only get added to. But for me, whatever it is, and everybody's lives, well, I'm not married, or this just happened. I get all that, but whatever your perspective is, whatever lane of life you're in, for me, keeping gratitude as a focus in general, but namely during this season, as there are times where my stress level elevates. There are times where, yes, I get sad about some loss I've experienced. Gratitude is critical for me. Secondly, and it's along those lines, but it's perspective. I find myself intellectualizing a lot of the things that I'm thankful for.
Yeah.
Intellectualizing a lot of the things that I know are important. Yes, I know the reason for the season. Intellectually, I know that I want my kids to have a great time during the holidays and be with their family. But then I kind of put those things, like I know them, they're so basic, and I put them in the back seat. And I'm more focused on the gift and the stressor and the travel and what food are we eating, and not, again, you have to deal with those things. Those things are important.
Right.
But I know for me, what helps me is to make sure I'm looking through the prism of gratitude and a proper perspective when dealing with those things versus having those things be forefront to me and intellectualizing really all the core important stuff. Mm-hmm. So again, it's not meant to be groundbreaking in the sense of like, these are all things we know, and you may be intellectualizing what I'm saying right now.
No, I get it.
But like, that's for me, if I'm not framing everything that way, I start to have my own mental health issues.
Yep.
And it's the harder work too. That's it's easier just to have the quick reaction or the quick stressor feed into that, but it's a lot harder to say, here's the perspective I want to have. And I know these things, but how do I get them into my body?
Exactly. And for me, and that's a great point, because I know for me, it is not just a day by day thing, not just a season by season thing. Depending on the day and depending on the issues, it's an hour by hour thing. It's a 20-minute by 20-minute thing where I'm constantly self-talking and sometimes doing a better job than other times with it. For sure, you can ask my wife that, but trying, that's the goal. That's what I try to frame the holidays around and just mental health in general.
Love it.
So from a supplement standpoint, we're going to start with the foundational here, and it's Coenzyme B Complete.
Okay.
So Coenzyme B Complete is our B vitamin supplement. So the family of B vitamins, I think just broadly speaking, everybody knows there's a lot of benefit, but pertinent to this topic, they do have a critical role in handling stress and also maintaining energy levels. That's because related to brain and mental health, they are critical for neurotransmitter production.
Okay.
Those signals in our brain that are controlling so much of the way we feel, both from a mood standpoint and also largely from an energy standpoint as well.
Okay.
So stress itself depletes B vitamins and increases the demand and need in the body for them. Your body does not make these. Okay. Medications, even very commonly used ones, Tylenol, aspirin, ibuprofen, not to mention a poor diet and intake of them, because again, your body does not make these, all deplete B vitamins, SSRIs. So again, the vicious loop of a lot of these things.
Yeah.
I'm having mental health issues, and no, B vitamins are not going to solve every one of them by any means, but maybe you're not eating a great diet, you're taking an SSRI, and now you have no basic core innate ability to try to improve the situation from a B vitamin standpoint, at least when you're taking a medication like that. So again, a lot of times we see a vicious cycle with some of these things, especially when meds come into play. So coenzyme B itself, again, the whole complex of B vitamins. We hear a lot, oh, my energy, I'm feeling a little down, I need B12. Everybody kind of wants not just a supplement a lot of times, but the quick fix, this one.
Yeah.
Oh, I read about B6. That helps with serotonin production. Oh, I read about folic acid and 5-MTHFR deficiencies and methylation, and all those things are true. But they all have a synergistic and an interplay with each other, that if you're just plucking out the one supplement because you read a great, hopefully and probably factual article about the benefit of that ingredient, you're missing the boat potentially. So the most fundamental thing to say about Coenzyme B Complete is that it's complete.
Complete.
Yes.
Yeah. Okay.
So outside of, you can have a documented deficiency for B12. Again, the key thing is the synergistic effect. Synergy, just meaning that the broad benefit and the overall benefit is greater than the sum of the parts, than adding up the individual parts.
Yep.
So you say, hey, all right, that makes sense. I've got the whole family of B vitamins. But I walk into a grocery store and I see a whole lot of those too. And I feel like a broken record in some of these. For a lot of people, that is just fine. You're just you don't have major issues. You don't have any genetic issues. You don't have any, heavy metal burden, detoxification issues. That may be just fine for you. But what makes ours different? Why is this? Yes, more money. Why is this different? Why are some of those? Yeah, I see B6. Why does it look different? I see B12 on yours. It's a little, what's the wording different? That's what's critical here. That's what the difference is. So on a vitamin like B6, like riboflavin, like thiamine, it's the same one that's in both of those. Why? Because there's not enough research to justify a different form, a fancier version, a more modern version
Right.
at this point. However, for folate or folic acid and for B12, there is science behind that. There is research. Ours are different forms. So ours isn't just the basic folic acid. And again, that may just be fine for you, but ours is the 5-methyl tetrahydrofolate, 5-MTHF. So that is the active form that your body uses. Your body can't use folic acid. It needs to convert it. That is the form where when you say, well, I get mine from fruits and vegetables, and that's great. That's foundational. That's the form it's in. It's not folic acid in your spinach. It is 5-MTHF. So again, your body does not need to convert that. For the average person, for most people, it converts it well. It's not a problem. But for genetic reasons, things we've talked about, stress, medications, all those reasons, methylation issues, which can be genetic, you do not convert it very well. So it may be you, it may not be you, but that's why that's in there. That's why it is superior relative to what is in a grocery store version.
Yep.
So B12, similar concept, is methylcobalamin. You're typically going to see cyanocobalamin. And not getting into the cyano and cyanide and all that stuff. That's not valid here. That gets a click. That's not valid here. What is valid is some people, again, don't methylate the cyanocobalamin because methylcobalamin is what's in food. It's what's your body needs. It's what's actually going to work when it's in your body.
Makes sense. Okay. All right. Are there other Bs?
There are other Bs. They are important. B6, namely to help convert 5-HTP, which is, it comes from tryptophan as well, an amino acid that converts into serotonin, pantothenic acid. They all have some play with neurotransmitters. But again, to me here, the key is what's the difference between this and what you could see on the store, in a grocery store or whatever the case may be. It's the methylated forms of the folate and the B12. They're all important though. Got
it. Okay. All right. So we've got the coenzyme B complete. What else?
So next we'll go into mood essentials. It's probably been now over a decade that we've recommended it. We've named it as such, called Mood Essentials. It is an excellent product. It's an active form of SAMe, S-adenosylmethionine, that you may hear about or look up when you're reading about, if you just broadly Google supplements for anxiety and depression.
Right.
It is the active form. It functions as a methyl donor. So when we get back to a lot of this methylation concept, of activating these nutrients in our body, of producing neurotransmitters, methylation plays a key role in that, as well as the detoxification, but in terms of what we're talking about today. So it is a methyl donor. There's also some glycerin in there, magnesium L-aspartate, which is a calming form of magnesium to the brain. It is a very good product. We've recommended it for years.
We also have Mood Essentials Advanced.
That, in terms of the recent research, in terms of how comprehensive it is and all the different areas of neurotransmitter production that it hits, it is much better designed, much more comprehensive, much more up to date, I would say. It would be the number one supplement that I would recommend outside of just covering your bases with coenzyme B. It would be the number one pure mood supplement that I would recommend. This is a comprehensive product. Not from a vitamin or mineral standpoint, like we discussed with the Bs, but from purely just a nutraceutical standpoint.
Okay.
So we'll start with L-theanine. Again, these ingredients themselves are not maybe so much groundbreaking in that sense. It's the levels of them. It's the combination of them in the proper doses that allow you to get the benefit of what maybe you read about in an article.
Okay.
So L-theanine is interesting because it has a chemical structure similar to glutamate. So we're talking a lot about neurotransmitters. Glutamate is an excitatory neurotransmitter in our brain. It's kind of like the word saying there's excitatory, there's inhibitory. Excitatory neurotransmitters are not inherently bad. They can get out of balance.
Sure.
Some people who are drowsy all the time may have an imbalance the other way, but what we're typically seeing in just the way modern life is, there can be a little bit of an imbalance, even in ADHD, things like that, of the excitatory neurotransmitter in the brain. And again, I just want to emphasize it's not bad and good, it's balance.
Right.
So L-theanine is similar in structure to glutamate. So in the brain, it can kind of occupy some of those same receptors as glutamate itself. So even if you got all this glutamate floating around in the brain, some of it is blocked by L-theanine because it can bind to the receptors, but it doesn't have the same activity once it's bound.
Got it.
So it helps to restore the functional balance in the brain.
So if there's too much glutamate, the L-theanine helps to kind of slow things down just a little bit.
Yes. It's so instead of all the glutamate being able to bind to glutamate receptors, some of the L-theanine is going to bind to it. There's just less glutamate. Even if it's still floating around in there, there's less that's able to activate a receptor and exhibit its effect.
Cool. Okay.
L-theanine also increases alpha waves. This is kind of a newer thing that a lot of people are discussing. But alpha waves, essentially, when those levels are increased, it increases production of serotonin and dopamine. So serotonin is kind of the mood elevating neurotransmitter. Dopamine a little more associated with mood elevation and reward. So it increases the production of both of those in the brain. And also just as generally studies have shown it's associated with a relaxed mind state.
Cool.
So you've also got GABA in there, and specifically pharma-GABA, which is a naturally derived non-synthetic version of GABA. Studies have shown that this naturally derived version crosses the blood-brain barrier better and is better absorbed overall. So you're going to get a little more bang for your buck, milligram to milligram, in a pharma-GABA versus synthetic supplemental GABA.
Okay.
So again, that is functioning as GABA itself, so which is an inhibitory neurotransmitter. So if you've got an imbalance, this is upping that inhibitory aspect.
It also has
L5-HTP. And a key thing about that is it's in 150 milligrams. That even surprised me a little bit. We see a lot of standalone L5-HTP supplements with 50 or 100. This has 150 per serving in it. So it is making clear to you that in the design of this, L5-HTP is a main driver for this as a mood supplement. So what 5-HTP is it's a direct precursor to serotonin. That's again, when you're talking about depression, especially, serotonin is the main player there. Along with the help of B6, it gets converted from L5-HTP in the brain to serotonin. Remember, serotonin is the neurotransmitter that the medications are working on, the SSRIs, the antidepressants, as we call them, the Prozacs, the Zolofts. Mm-hmm. They're obviously working in a much more intense way, but it's the same general neurotransmitter balance and increase that you're looking for that effect.
Got it. Okay.
Also has mucuna pruriens. It's a legume. It's standardized to provide 10% on a milligram basis, a weight basis, of L-DOPA. So this is a little unique too. So that's the active form of dopamine. And dopamine is mood elevating. And again, associated, that neurotransmitter that's associated with a lot of the reward pathways in the brain.
Right.
So it's hitting a lot of different aspects here. Also has inositol. It's a former member of the B family. It's no longer in the B family because your body can produce a little bit of it.
Oh, okay.
But this is key thing as well. There's 1,000 milligrams per serving. So again, so supplements in general, but especially combo supplements, you see so much, they're almost like checking a box. See, I've heard this ingredient is good, we got it. This ingredient's good, we got it. Well, the study on it is showing it needs to be 150 milligrams or 1,000 milligrams.
Right.
You got 50 in there, you've got 150 instead of 1,000. You're not checking that box. It's in there. It looks good on the label. It's not going to functionally produce that effect for you.
Got it.
Also, it does just kind of cover the bases, B vitamins, a little bit of magnesium, just to make sure there's not a deficiency there. You wouldn't be doubling up on therapeutic effects. It's just covering bases. It's a good design to say, hey, yeah, we're giving you these other nutrients, but if you're purely deficient in B6, we're going to have some issues relative to getting that 5-HTP to actually convert, to actually work. So it's in there just at a basic level.
Makes sense. Okay.
Kind of going to get to where things overlap a little bit, anxiety and depression.
Okay.
Especially when we're talking about stress.
Because these function in different ways neurologically. Anxiety and depression need different things a lot of times, but there is also overlap.
Exactly. And that's where it can get a little muddy.
But Mood Essentials Advanced is designed for?
Primarily for mood elevation.
Okay.
So again, you could look at that just like you were saying and say, well, there's 5-HTP in there. There's pharma-GABA. Those things are good for anxiety. Yes, there is overlap. At the end of the day, no matter what you say a product is for, it's working on a certain neurotransmitter, a certain pathway in the brain. So whatever that pathway or neurotransmitter is involved in, it's going to have effect there.
Got it.
It's just what is extra, what is missing, that can then allow you to get a little more specific.
Okay. So then you were going into the overlap.
The overlap. Again, there's just... whether it's the medications with SSRIs, antidepressants, those are also first line for anxiety. So when you're looking at some of these, there's overlap there. So if you are somebody dealing with persistent anxiety, you would probably want to go in a little different direction because your focus is more on that inhibitory excitatory balance, less so much maybe on 5-HTP. You don't really need the L-DOPA. Mood generally is okay. You're just very anxious, so we don't want to have that in there.
Right.
The L-DOPA can be a little stimulating, so it could even go the other way where it could be a negative effect.
Got
so
it.
everybody's going to be a little individualized here because we are not all cookie cutter. Yeah, I have bad anxiety, but I have some mood issues sometimes. Maybe I swear I have a little bit of ADHD. So how do you balance those things? Talk to somebody, talk to us, garner as much information as you can from what I'm providing. Make the best decision for yourself.
Right. Okay.
So again, Calm Day, as the name implies, this is the anxiety one.
And that is
specific
with
to
a
anxiety.
K,
with
correct?
a K, yeah.
Yeah.
Got fancy on that one.
Because we wanted to confuse people.
Yes. So if you're dealing with depression, Calm Day is not for you. This is primarily a GABA supplement.
Okay.
Just in a background sense, GABA is the neurotransmitter, the primary calming one in the brain that anti-anxiety specific drugs like Xanax work on. Again, they're doing it with a sledgehammer. This is doing it with a small little hammer, but it's the general concept is that's what it's doing. The other thing that's unique about Calm Day is that it can be used acutely.
Okay.
When you're talking about depression and mood swings, using things acutely it's pretty tough. That needs to be more of a standard daily dose and then evaluated over time how it's working for you. Anxiety, again, with the overlap, there is some of that. If you have generalized anxiety, you've got some mild OCD, those are things you want to take daily. But what you can do with Calm Day, because anxiety can come on in a little more waves, sometimes around the holidays or other things.
Yep.
You can use it acutely, just meaning that you can use it and then in 30 to 45 minutes, hopefully get some effect from it and then not take it for a couple of days, God willing, if you don't need it.
Okay.
So that is one unique thing of it. Calm Day contains GABA. It contains 500 milligrams of GABA
versus 100 that's in Mood Essentials Advanced.
So again, look at the focus here. It also has some L-theanine for all the reasons we described already. It also has glycine calming to the brain. Overlap, yes. Missing some things on purpose. Increasing the important things related to anxiety, namely GABA.
Got it. Let's do a quick review. We've got 3 primary products we've talked about. Coenzyme B Complete, which is kind of a general, everybody needs Bs, and it helps with mood and anxiety and all those things, and stress management. We talked about Mood Essentials Advanced, but that's designed for mood primarily. And we talked about Calm Day, which is designed primarily for anxiety.
Yes.
Lots of overlap, lots of similar elements within them, but the amounts and the things that are missing are all done on purpose to aim them at specific anxiety or mood elevation or just general purpose, right?
Exactly.
Okay.
Yeah, you summed it up well.
So who is using which and how much and how does that work?
Yeah, so we can kind of start with Coenzyme B would be for both. Equally for the same reasons, not more important in one or the other.
Okay.
And the dosing on that I would recommend is 1 or 2 in the morning. And then you can add in 1 or 2 in the afternoon. It's up to you. Bs for some people can be a little stimulating. That's why, especially in these therapeutic doses, not because there's a little bit of B in your essential sleep.
Right.
We're talking therapeutic doses.
Yeah.
So just watch that. That's why I said morning and afternoon versus morning and evening or morning in bed.
Got it. And so that's everybody.
That's for everybody. Yes. Mood Essentials, still a good product that we've used for years. It's still different. It's an L-methionine product, so it is different. 2 a day in the morning minimum, 2 twice a day ideally.
Got it. Okay.
And then if you're dealing with anxiety spectrum, it's just, hey, yes, it comes in waves. We're all, all of our lives and days are functioning differently. But if it's not so much a depression issue, it's a anxiety issue, I would do the Calm Day in addition to the Coenzyme B, of course, and potentially with Mood Essentials.
But stay away from Mood Essentials Advanced.
Particularly because some of the things in there can be like the L-DOPA, the mucuna can be a little bit stimulating.
Sure.
So if you're using it and you've got more of a general 2 a day in the morning minimum, and it does need to be 2. So 2 in the morning minimum, 2 twice a day if you do deal with a very generalized anxiety, or you can just do 2 in the morning and then use 1 or 2 acutely, like we talked about.
Got it.
That's a critical thing with Calm Day, that you can effectively do it that way.
That's cool. That's very cool.
Mood Essentials Advanced.
Definitely for the depression end of the spectrum. Definitely 4 a day in the morning.
4 a day.
Yes. And it's because of that big long diatribe I went on about all that's in there and about how high the doses are because they're therapeutic. This is where it stings a little bit.
Yeah.
Is that you do need to do 4 a day. If you want to split it up and do 2 and 2, and honestly, if you're dealing with a little more severe case or you're just really trying to figure this thing out, 4 and 2 could be done as well, up to 6 a day.
Okay.
The overlap is where it does get a little hairy. And again, I think a lot of people with anxiety do have some serotonin issues, which can lead to potentially some depression issues. We're all different. So I'm saying if you are clearly in the anxiety boat,
Stick with Calm Day.
if you have overlap, comfortably,
Use the Mood Essentials Advanced.
and then the Calm Day would move purely into the acute status.
So you'd be taking Mood Essentials Advanced.
4 a day, and then Calm Day as needed. Whereas somebody with the generalized anxiety kind of alone, we'll say, is taking Calm Day standing order.
Okay. All right. Man, that is fantastic. I love the clarity. I love that division. I've never understood all the differences and why we had so many. That makes so much sense. Thank you. This will help have a calmer holiday season next time at the very least.